Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. What is leverage? It's a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It means that you've got more that they want and they have less than what you want. So that's how you're going to get that record deal. That's how you're going to get that management company. That's how you're going to get that booking agent, other musicians in your band. And that's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. Brilliant. Mm-hmm. And the genius who came up with that is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is also an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And Brent helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he connects you with the pros on the regular. And you can find Brent at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. Daredevil has created over 25 national TV opportunities for their indie artists. I noticed I said indie, and they're still getting on TV chances. And they did this by making them discoverable. They've also created multiple tour opportunities. And using the power of digital marketing data, they've attracted a number of investors for their artists. And this is because investors know that numbers don't lie because numbers can't talk. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. And there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What's happening, brother?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
I'll be dropping on New Year's Day. So hopefully everyone had a good kiss at the ball drop or whatever. So starting off those resolutions.
That's right. I want to apologize in advance if you hear any snoring sounds in the background. That is the one, the only Mr. Scooter McGee.
That's your doggy.
That's my 150-pound Great Dane crashed here on the couch with me while we're doing this podcast from home. And he sounds like your grandpa when he snores. So if it gets a little distracting, I apologize in advance.
All right.
What are we going to learn about today, brother?
Man, today we're going to talk about success and how to set your co-writers up for success. Because, man, we want everybody to win, right? That's why we do this podcast. We want you to win, and we want you to help your co-writers win. And when they win, you win. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's right. Okay, but before we do that, let's take care of a little bit of business here. The C.L.I.M.B podcast is proud to partner with disc makers who have been supporting indie musicians like you before indie music was even a thing. When you're ready to make CDs, DVDs, vinyl, or distribute your music and videos with customized USBs, which are really cool, by the way, go to discmakers.com, discmakers.com. It's the only place you need to go.
And while you're there, click the Guides and Resources tab and download some of their excellent free guides. They just revised and expanded their home studio handbook, which has a ton of great advice and information for newbies and studio veterans. You can find them online at www.discmakers.com or give them a call at 800-468-9353. Again, that's 800-468-9353.
Awesome. And hey, guys, if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B community yet, please do so. Tons of great information in there, good articles that we post up that we're sort of DJing from Billboard and Digital Music News and all different kinds of really good periodicals just to keep you abreast of what's happening in the music industry world. You can find it all right there. And a ton of people who have other questions that are similar to yours and some of the answers to some of your questions. So all that stuff kind of goes on, which is really cool. Go to the C.L.I.M.B community on Facebook, ask to be let in. We let everybody in. Be good boys and girls, or you will be roadhoused out. And man, there's just good stuff going on there. Subscribe to the podcast. Make sure that all the episodes, full episodes on Tuesday and the mini-sodes on Friday go right into your podcast player in order. You can consume them when you want. I know I do a ton of that when I have insomnia. I'll go through like a bunch, catch up on my podcast episodes. The stuff I listen to, and share it. That's the best compliment you could give Brent and myself. If it's helping you, it's going to help somebody else. So put it up on social media. Let them know why you like it. Tell a friend. Tell them what kind of benefit they can get out of it. We want to try to get to everywhere. And lastly, leave a rating and review, a 5-star rating if you can, and do that on on iTunes. It makes us look legit for everybody. And, once again, we have a new review that I want to read. Speaking of that.
That's right. This
is from Shireen Wells, and who's, by the way, we were talking about this. She's a hoot on social media. Like, she cracks me up. This is a 5-star review. It says, worth your time. Calling all singers, songwriters, must listen podcast. Both Brent and Johnny offer up informative and useful advice to apply to your music career. Great energy, and enjoyed my time spent on this program. Well, thank you, Shireen.
Thank you for that tasty 5-star review. We appreciate it.
Yes. So we're going to talk about how to help your co-writer, like how to set them up for success.
That's right. It's a team sport. If you're on a basketball team, this is getting more basketball season now. So, if you're on a basketball team and you set your, center up for success, odds are your team's going to succeed and you succeed. If you set your point guard up for success, then more likely your team's going to succeed and you get the ring too. So this is not just, for them setting them up for success, but it is, and it comes back around to you too. So this is team sport here. So we want our whole team to win. So I'll start off with a little story.
Okay.
Now this starts off with regret. Regret from words that spilled out of my blabbermouth. I have this funny idea. So I didn't regret sharing my idea because my co-writers hated it when I shared the song ideas. I regretted sharing my idea because my co-writers loved it. So here we were. I was in a co-write, and we were jawboning on the front end of the co-write, just chit-chatting, talking music and stuff. You know how we do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my Mr. Entertainer, he got the best of me for a laugh. And I shared this wacky song idea. I'm like, well, I got this idea, blah, 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 blah. Well, it got a laugh, but it also got man, we got to write that. And normally that's cool. But here's the thing. I wasn't pitching that idea. I was just going for a laugh. My co-writers that day were both very talented songwriters, and they both have cuts to their credit and did at the time too. So it wasn't a matter of them being like lousy songwriters. They were both really good at what they do, but their wheelhouse is at one end of the country spectrum. Okay. And this idea, unfortunately, was at the other end of the country spectrum. So basically I had two like really country kind of bluegrassy kind of influenced, acoustic-y people. And I threw out this ridiculous like country rap kind of idea. So, truth be told, that kind of idea isn't in my wheelhouse either. But I thought of it, so I was kind of tied to it. So if anything, I needed co-writers to make up for my lack of strength in that type of song, on the much more kind of progressive hip-hop country, kind of country thing.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
But instead, me and my big mouth, I throw it out to a couple more country writers. But it was a funny enough title and basic concept that they couldn't resist. They're like, we got to write that. And I don't want to start off a co-write going, no.
That was just that.
I threw that out there, but jokes.
Those are jokes.
I guess there would have been a way to massage it. Going, well, that was really for a joke. I'm not really feeling that today. I could have put it on me, not like, no, I don't think y'all are the right people to write that. That's not a good way to start off your day.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not building confidence for the rest of the day. I should have probably just put off on me going, God, I'm joking. No, I'm really not ready to write that yet. Let's just try something else. Should have done that, but I didn't because I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so
I'm a people pleaser.
I know I don't like conflict. I'm the peacemaker. If you follow Enneagram stuff, I'm like a hard 9, I think, or whatever it is. I'm like peacemaker. Okay. So anyway, we ended up with a song that day. We ended up writing that song, and it was pretty well written, and it was pretty good. We even demoed it. I spent money on this thing.
Really? Okay.
Well enough, quality enough that like, yeah, but it just didn't sparkle, Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that it would have gotten cut with any of my other co-writers, if I'd saved it for like the right kind of, but because it still would have been a long shot. But the thing is, I'll never know. There'll always be that little bit of regret in there going, yeah, even though we got a demo, well, my job is not to write songs that get demoed. It's not my job. We've talked about that before. My job is to write songs that get cut, make money.
Yep.
Well, I didn't do my job that day because I didn't write a song that got cut. I got a song that spent money, not one.
And you kind of let the situation get away from you a little bit too.
I did. I got.
So I'm sure that's a stain like in your memory, like of you're like because you knew better. Now afterwards, you think like 5,000 ways that you could have turned the Exxon Valdez around and gotten control of it, but it's always after the fact, and you're like, oh,
yeah. Now I spent money on it.
Yeah,
or whoever my publisher was at the time spent money on it, which is
your money
back and unrecouped, right? So it's still my money. So hopefully since then I've learned my lesson. Since then I try to be more disciplined about bringing the best appropriate idea to each co-write. Like, it was not a bad idea. It was just not right for those co-writers, I don't feel. And so therefore, even though they brought their best work, it was kind of out of all of our wheelhouses. Mm-hmm. That particular style of country is not what any of us do best.
Right. So you need to at least have one ringer in there for that kind of style.
You can go, no, that's not cool in this way, right?
That's not what their kids are saying.
It's like you got 3 squares trying to write a circle. You need at least one circle or an oval in there. Let's round that up.
It's a good way.
So again, some people may look at that going, "Oh, it was a pleasant surprise. We even demoed it." Yeah, did it get cut? No. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I want my co-writers to do what they're great at.
Yeah.
And that's really what this is coming down to, how to set your co-writers up for success, is allow them to do what they're great at. So I'm going to tell you another story. This is the time I got it right. Okay, so that was more of a bruise story. This is more of a cut story.
Okay.
So a few years ago, I found out that comedy legend Ray Stevens, Mississippi Squirrel Revival, The Streak, Is Me Again, Margaret, Hall of Famer Ray Stevens was going to be working on a political comedy album. Johnny, of course, you know how this turns out.
Oh yeah,
or that record, or you know us and stuff. So as it just so happened, I had a silly title called "Caribou Barbie" about Sarah Palin.
I didn't know about that. I never heard that.
So I had this title sitting around because some people. And so this was during that era, right? When and when she was up for vice president, and some people disparagingly called her Caribou Barbie. Which is pretty funny because you're in Alaska and stuff.
Yeah, it is. Like, I don't care what side of the alley you're on. That's funny. Like,
I'm like, okay, that's funny. They might have meant disparaging, but I knew Ray was a conservative and was definitely voting for McCain Palin and liked her. And anyway, so I'd held on to this title for a little while during the election, but then McCain lost, and I thought, well, okay, I don't really know what to do with that title anyway. But since I didn't even win, nothing much to do about that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so did I throw this idea out at my next co-write though? Like, I got an idea, Caribou Barbie. No. So so here's the deal. Got this title, heard Ray Stevens is working on a political comedy record. Okay. Could have just walked into my very next appointment with whoever it happened to be, a country writer, and gone, all right, Ray Stevens is working on this thing. I got a title. Let's see if we can write something.
So start trying to shove like 10 pounds of sand into 5-pound bags.
It could be, yeah. Or just, again, a couple squares trying to write a circle. I didn't do that. I called up Matt Klein and Max T. Barnes.
Yeah.
And Matt, and Matt and Max both wrote for Ray Stevens at the time. So they were both at Ray's publishing company. So I knew our song, if we wrote it well, would get a good listen. But even more importantly, I knew that those two guys would write it right up Ray's alley. Max already had a couple songs on the project. Max T. Barnes, he wrote "Love Me" for Colin Ray. He wrote.
Did he really?
He wrote it with his dad. And they were
Are you kidding?
Max D. Barnes and Max T. Barnes were like the first father-son songwriting duo to be up for like Song of the Year at the CMAs or something, because it was up for like.
Oh my God! Like, okay, just real quick side note, like. I did like a couple things with Colin Ray, like
that's right,
on the marketing side, and I co-produced one of his records. And because of that, there's a lot of during that time Colin Ray conversations that would pop up around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just was relevant at the time, and that song, "Love Me," like everybody has the same reaction to that song, like. Mm-hmm. If I'm driving and that thing comes over, like I got to pull over because I'm going to start losing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it just affects them. So that's such a good song, man. I did not know he wrote that. That is awesome.
Wrote it with his dad. So
that's so cool.
He's a Hall of Famer, I think. So yeah. So and so Max, legit hit songwriter, Diamond Rio, and a bunch of other cuts. But the thing is, he's good at that stuff. But then also he was writing for Ray and wrote some stuff for that project already with Ray, like Throw the Bums Out and some other stuff. So writing, obviously having some success, knows how to get on a Ray Stevens record, which is my goal. And then Matt, he's just playing great at country comedy songs.
Yeah, he's hysterical.
Yeah, he's great. And he grew up listening to all that Ray Stevens stuff and knows that Ray Stevens stuff. So he's marinated in the vernacular of Ray Stevens.
And he's brilliant.
And he's so good at that stuff. Yeah. So not only does he know the target, he can write toward that kind of stuff really well. And they both write for Ray's publishing company. Mm-hmm. So there we go. So instead of just whoever happened to be in the room with the next day, who was probably a hit writer, pro country writer or something, so a legit writer. No, I'm like calling up those guys. Max, Matt, I got a title. That was my way into the room, really, to try and get on that project.
Yep.
So I basically just had to throw that T-bone of a hook in between those two Rottweilers and get out of the way.
I'll just, you guys come up with the melody. I got a couple words here whenever you're ready.
Look, guys, Caribou Barbie, go. I'm going to lunch. I'll be back.
Of an idea between these two Rottweilers.
Yeah, because they're so good at it. I just had to help kind of massage some lyrical stuff and make some stuff rhyme or whatever. And it's like really after that. Yeah. Because that was so playing to their strengths and what they knew how to do really well. Seriously, you talk about a word for a third. I was like titled for I don't know. Yeah. So, and they ran with it. And so Ray recorded for this album. The album's called We the People. There's even like a silly video. You can find it on YouTube and got,
For Caribou Barbie?
Oh, for Caribou Barbie. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's got Ray in it. It's got somebody playing Sarah Palin. So it's political comedy, y'all. Don't take it too seriously and don't get too uptight. Okay. We're all friends here.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was an example of setting my co-writers up for success. I brought a title that was relevant to a project that was going on and also very relevant to their skill set and allowed them to do something they're really good at.
Yeah.
And so they could excel at doing what they excel at doing, and everybody won.
Yep.
Bingo.
You got the cut. That's where you got the ball in the end zone there.
Exactly. We did our job. We wrote a song that got cut and made a little bit of money.
Side note, I'm so curious about like the first 15 minutes of that, right? Where you're doing like the song title challenge stuff and you're trying to figure out the angle. Like, what did that sound like?
Yeah. I mean, because it's such a random title and you're like, okay, and we're going to write about Sarah Palin in a positive way because Ray's a fan.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, what are some of the, you just got kind of gathering up some of the mythology that had already been built up around her, there's catchphrases and the,
oh, there you go. I'm playing up for that because I've never heard the song. I gotta go hear it.
And Pitbull hockey mom and all this stuff. You're throwing this stuff together.
Pitbull, that's right.
Remember, so that thing was a thing. And what's the difference between a pitbull and a hockey mom? Lipstick. So we're just getting that kind of stuff. Man, she shot a moose from a helicopter. And kind of made this almost legendary Paul Bunyan kind of mythical figure, Caribou Barbie kind of thing. So,
that's fantastic. Of course,
it was just. We're aiming for a target and we hit it. Let's put it that way. So might not be the dance, but so
let me ask you a question. So when we're talking about marketing, and the first step is that most artists, they don't even take the first step. I ask them like, we have to define the audience, right? Like, who's your audience?
Yes.
It's not just people who show up. Like, who is it? Like, who are the new eyeballs that have no idea who you are right now, that are going to be predisposed to liking this kind of music that you make? Like, and what are some different things that we can go off? So in this context, I think the first thing is how many songwriters out there that are listening to our voices right now has sat down and really done a mental assessment of each person that you're writing with? Like, what are their strengths?
Yeah.
Right. Like define their strengths, write them down. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that you really start to know, oh, you know what? Like, who's going to be good for this? Like let's bring him in or let's bring her in.
Jimmy, because Jimmy does, I don't know, calypso like nobody's business.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even down to, that's super specific, but I can tell you, like, when we do, some of our artists at Daredevil need creative development. They all need market development, but some of them need creative development, which means I got to get them with the right songwriters and the right, and we're putting people together. Now, sometimes like when I come to you, all I got to do is give it to you, and then you're like, okay. And you set it up with, okay, I'm a word guy. I'm going to get a melody guy or a melody girl, and we're going to work with this artist, right?
Yeah.
And so I should say like a melody writer. And so, but I'm conscious of that when I'm putting them together. Like I know this one person's strength, this writer's strength is more lyrical. This writer's strength is more melody. So I'm not getting like two people that are strong on melody and weak on lyrics, unless I know the artist is killing it with the lyrics, right?
Exactly,
like, so, but intentionally looking at that recipe and going, right? Like, what does this work? Is this a good idea? Like,
oh yeah,
how could this fly?
It tastes good when we get all the ingredients in.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want me trying to write a melody for your song. That is not my point of highest contribution.
Right, and don't give me a guitar.
That's not setting me up for success. In which case, you're short circuiting your own probability of success by setting me up for failure. You're tied to it. So what are you doing? You don't throw the ball to the guy with the worst hands on the team.
Yep.
You find some other job for him.
They're on defense.
They're fast. They can't catch. Defensive back. Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly. If they could catch, they'd be on offense. Right. Yeah. Scoring points. So, and so I think that is important to think about. Just like, I got ahead of myself and I threw out which was a solid idea in the right context, but I threw it out to the wrong people. What happened? We got a well-crafted song because that's what we do.
Right.
Didn't quite sparkle for the target we were trying to hit.
Because you're craftsmen, but these guys are good at building like family homes, and you're trying to build like a commercial building,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's like, those carpenters, they know what they're doing. It's not going to fall down, but it still may not quite be the commercial building or whatever. Yeah.
They don't have all the nuance in there.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. So, but with Max and Matt, they spoke the language. They'd already had success. They had the ends too, which was nice. I mean, really how that Caribou Barbie, so I'd been sitting on that for a while. Then we heard Ray was doing the comedy record. I knew he was a Sarah Palin fan. So I was actually at I was over at Ray Stevens Music, and I was going to go write with Matt that day, or we're going to go run around or something. And so I'm there in the morning, and Susie Ragsdale comes out. They're in some meeting in there. So I'm just hanging out the front talking to somebody, and Susie comes out. That's Ray's daughter. Good songwriter, artist in her own right. And so I just stand and go, "Hey, Susie, how's it going?" "Oh, good." I'm like, "Hey, I got a title for Ray." So I just threw it out there. She's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "Caribou Barbie." And she laughs, and she goes back into the meeting with Ray and some folks. Anyway, so Matt and I go do our thing that day. We come back later. We're picking up his car, or my car, from the parking lot at Ray's, and Ray's walking outside. We're like, "Hey, Ray." He goes, "Hey, did you have that idea, that Caribou Barbie thing?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, sir." So I've been talked about.
Yeah.
He goes, "I want to hear that." I said, "Well, I haven't written it yet, but I will."
I'll see you tomorrow.
I go, "I want to hear it." I'm like, "Yes, sir." And that's when I call it Matt and Max, and like, let's do this.
So he's already prepared to love it from the title, y'all. Yeah.
Winning before we're even spinning.
Yeah.
We're winning.
Winning before we're spinning.
When you have a good title, you're winning before you're spinning. Like before the song even starts playing, they just see the title and they already want to like it.
Yeah.
We already wanted to like it just from the title. Now we had to just don't screw it up. Which
just do a good job.
I stayed out of the way. And so it could be that kind of thing, which, we were aiming at a very specific target. Nobody else would ever cut that, right? Mm-hmm. Aiming right for a Ray thing. But, if I'm looking for more of a progressive country pop kind of thing, I may go to Wilkes. If I'm looking for, for myself and my co-writers, if I'm looking for more of a, traditional country thing, I may go to a different set of folks. Mm-hmm. Because I know their strengths and their weaknesses. If I know that I have a lyric that's pretty much done and I need to just put a melody on it, but the lyric is all right there, and it's more of a country thing, I made it go to a guy like Byron Hill. Mm-hmm. We wrote a song called Ring on the Bar, which was basically, I brought this lyric in and he put a great melody on it, and it's bounced around, being cut a couple times and stuff. And so,
right. So you had that mostly done already, lyrically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just kind of came in with it. It was our first co-write, and I really wanted to make sure I made a good impression, did my homework, so I came in with some stuff. That was one of them, and he liked it, and he could put, we probably tweaked it a little bit just for melody purposes. But
okay, wait, I got to ask a question here. So
yeah.
Stop for a second. Okay, so for me, like every writer's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to, like in the spirit of David Bowie, to be experimental when I was writing, like not as much as I should have, but it was hairband after all. There was, not a whole lot of
social commentary going on or whatever.
Yeah. But just like I would do things like I would have one guitar. I would have 2 acoustic guitars. One of them would be tuned regular. One of them would be tuned to an open tuning.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes just that other open tuning would just get me going this other place. It would be a muse, right? That way. And then one of the other, or if I go to a piano, I could do that. And that would all of a sudden, if I got stuck, it could switch stuff up for me and get me unstuck.
Sure. Yeah.
But I could never, except for like a line or something, but I could never write a song lyrically and then put it to music. Like I had to have the groove and the vibe going first to come up with the melody and then fit the words into the melody. How in the hell did you do that?
Because I don't write melody.
But how do you know, like, even what this damn song structure is going to be? Like,
to me, it's something. If it reads, well, of course, you study lyric and you study lyric and you study lyric, so you see a bazillion song structures, lyrics laid out in front of you. I would copy out lyrics of songs that I liked. I would type them out. I had them posted in my college apartment all over the walls. I'd open a cabinet door and here's a Gary Burr lyric. In my kitchen, that kind of stuff. And I'd copy them over into notebooks, songs that I respected lyrically and stuff. So you just see.
Yeah, you just have to feel the rhythm of it before.
You feel the rhythm of it if I can, because the rhythm is going to get you. And, and so, and I'd read these lyrics out loud, the ones I'm writing, if they have a good cadence, if it bounces right and you don't stumble all over yourself just reading them. Okay, it has a nice kind of flow to it. Now, I had no idea what the melody was going to be, but you start picking up on that stuff. You do it enough, and
that's interesting.
That kind of so that works for me. Like, does it feel good? Does it flow right? And you just do it a bunch.
But to a prior point that we had, I think the last episode where we were just talking about patience and doing the work, like that's something I didn't do. Like I never did that with lyrics. I never was that fascinated with lyrics to write them out. I was more fascinated with the performance of it, the singing and the groove. And so I did tons of that stuff.
And
right.
Thank goodness for me, there are a lot of people like you.
Yeah. But I mean, like I'm thinking back now, like I wish I would have known you. Cause then, it would be like, man, okay, I should start putting some time in doing this because I'm going to pick up something even subliminally, maybe, to make that happen. Something else I want to point out too for writers, like if you're in Nashville, if you're not in Nashville, if you're in a more of a remote location, you got a few writers that you write with, do an inventory, right? Like sit down, spend a little bit of time, like write every person's name down that you write with and what are their strengths and put that down there and maybe ask them too, right? Like what they are. And I think by doing that, you could also sort of look at that whole picture when you're done and be like, man, we're missing something, right? Yeah. Like there's something here that we need that's going on right now that we don't have. We got to go find that person. And then it's kind of like when you know what you're looking for, it's easier to spot, right?
Well, it's funny. As we're recording this, it's the early National Signing Day for college football. It's a December signing day today. And so what do they do? What are our greatest areas of need? Well, we need a couple linebackers. We got to go find the best linebackers we can. We're stocked up. We got a ton of wide receivers in the last class. We're not as heavy on that this time. It's fine. We got to stock up on linebackers and offensive linemen. Kind
of like putting your draft together, like your fantasy football team, only it's your writing team. And then just always be like, if you know what you're missing, right? Or if you know where you're weak or you're light, then you're going to keep your eyes open for that and maybe start a conversation and what a super intelligent conversation to have, right? Like to be like, hey, you don't know me. I'm Johnny, but I was talking with a group of friends and we get this like killer writing group that we're all kind of working around. And the one thing that we're light on, I heard, you're the man.
Yeah, you're the man for this.
Right. And what a great way to just start an engaging conversation. Because right off the bat, if I'm that guy and I don't read from a can of paint, I get to talk about myself.
And I like you. And you're obviously smart and a great judge of character.
Exactly.
Because you're interested in me.
Right. But being able to like spell it out like that and then be like, man, and then I went and I heard some of the stuff that you did. And I like this and this and this and this. That was amazing. Like, would you want to get together and write with us sometime? Like, wow, that just sounds like so incredibly sexy, doesn't it?
and professional. Like you did your homework. Wow, you thought about this for a minute. It's not, hey, you want to get together and write sometime? Why
let's write a song. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, going back to the Byron Hill thing, like Ring on the Bar, I was able to take him pretty much a full lyric, and he likes that. He's like, great, I can just do melody, which is what he's great. He's great at both, right? But but he's like, love just put melody. Some people love that. Other people, it freak them out, going, I got this whole lyric here, and oh my gosh, the pressure of trying to make this sing, and even if I've constructed it well, they feel maybe hemmed in by the lyrical structure that's there, and they want to be more freewheeling to find it. And so I know some writers like that. Don't try to put that on them. It's not setting them up for success. You might come in with a concept and a title, and I got this idea for this vibe, and just let them play, and then you construct the lyric together so it can kind of follow the melody more, and that's your best chance for them to be successful, and therefore for your song to be successful. So part of it's learning what they're good at, what they're not as good at, and not trying to, again, be a bunch of squares trying to ride a circle.
Yeah. Fascinating. That's good, man. Like if you brought that to me, if we were writing that, it would have probably freaked me out. I've been like, I gotta, like on one hand, my lyrics were never my strength, but I'm like, I gotta make this all work.
Now all of a sudden it's homework, right? Yeah. It's not creativity. It's almost homework.
It's not just flowing through me. I got a restraint here. There's a mathematical thing that's got to happen to.
Yeah. It's some people look at it as a constraint, as restraining. Other people look at it as great. I got a roadmap.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And neither's wrong and neither's right.
Yeah.
With some things, it's right for some people and wrong for other people. Great. I adjust because I have songs that if I need to, I can do the full lyric. If I need to, I can just bring in the concept.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved down to Nashville, the first place I got a job at, I didn't know a soul when I first moved here, like not one person. And the first place I worked at was the Stockyard. And I worked in the basement in a bar called The Bullpen. And the band there, the house band, was like sick, right? That had like Micah Roberts singing, that had Dow Tomlin on bass. Like the band was ridiculously good. And Tommy, the singer, I can't remember his last name right now. I think we lost Tommy like a while back. He's a big guy, like, big man and a comedian too, but a great singer. But I remember just getting into a conversation with him about singing. And at this point, I think I was gearing up to go meet Kim Tribble, and we were just talking about singing.
Yeah.
And because what made me think about this comment I'm about to make was you said, there's no right or wrong way to do it, right? Like and he was talking about just in terms of like prolific. And he was saying, because you can go talk to Kim. Kim, he writes a lot of songs. Like a lot, like every week he writes like 12 songs, I was like, okay, wow, that's crazy. To me, that's something I never did. And all of a sudden I felt inferior. Yeah. Like in my own head, I was like, man, okay, so I was never going to be the writer. You're like, right off the bat, I'm like, well, I'm going to think about something different, But then Tommy's like, but you know what? Like, I think he had a couple cuts or something like that. And he's like, he goes, I write like 9 songs a year, but they're all like really good,
Yeah.
And they're solid. And so but there's no right or wrong way to do it, right?
No,
like
I think
both of those writers found their way into the industry, into opportunity with completely different styles. So I just want to point that out. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, just know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and where to fill the holes, right?
Yeah. Like Bob McDill was famous for, he'd work on one song Monday through Thursday. And on Friday, he'd do his demo or recording of it.
Right.
But he'd work on the one song all week.
Yeah.
And he's a Hall of Famer. Good Old Boys Like Me for Don Williams, Gone Country for Alan Jackson. Just so many great classic country songs.
Sure.
So much of that Don Williams stuff, I Believe in Love, I think.
Which is not the way it happens in Nashville normally. Like, it's
not normally. No. But just so well crafted, just great pieces of art. I think, who are some of those other people? I don't get the name wrong, but then you have other people like a Kim Tribble or maybe a Don Schlitz who writes a bunch, or Craig Wiseman who writes a bunch, and knocks them out. Or Laura McKenna doesn't write, I don't think, as much, as someone like a
right. And Laura wrote
Humble and Kind,
and a bunch of other hits.
A lot of great stuff. Yeah, Girl Crush. But then they both can have really great success, and maybe you're going to be in trouble if you sit down with one type of writer and try to blast right through. And so I know for some of my writers, some writers are fast writers.
Mm-hmm.
You come in and it's like launch, right off a launch pad. 3, okay, 10, 9, 2, go. You know, and ready, fire, aim, you know, and just going. And then you're done by lunch. Like, what happened? Yeah. Other writers are grinders and will take every little bit, hold it up to the light, you know, sift it looking for the gold, and both have success. Now, I want to set them up for success. So the grinder, I'm not going to be pushing to get done within 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the one that's, you know, the rocket ship takes off, I'm not going to be trying to drag it out because he's going to be miserable and not want to write with me again and shut down and be just frustrated. So I know, like for myself, okay, for this type of writer, the rocket ship that goes really fast, I need to bring in something that's much more fully formed, like at least the outline of a lyric, maybe a lot of concept, you know, where it's, I know where we're going. I know what I want to say in the tone of it. I might even have the full lyric kind of there. That way, as with a fast writer, sometimes I end up with stuff that's half-baked. It's not fully thought out as much as I'd like it to be. There's some holes in it, but it just train's going.
Yeah.
So to get my best and set them up for success is like, okay, bring in stuff they can run fast with. The grinder, if I bring in this full lyric and don't want to change it, they're going to be frustrated because they want to pull, you know, all the transmission out and rebuild it. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. That way they can really make sure that everything's the way they want it. Those writers, I don't have to bring in a full lyric. I can bring in the concept. I can bring in some ideas and bones of it, structure of it and stuff, but just be willing to hold everything up to scrutiny. And question it. And it may come back to what we originally had. Great. But just to take time. And that helps that writer to feel like, okay, they really own each part of it. And each part is really good. So they feel good about moving on to the next part. Great. Both can have success. I just want to adapt as much as I can because I can work with both kind of writers.
See, that's okay. So this is fascinating. So this is like, this brings another idea to mind. Like, I'll bet you there's been times where if you're a songwriter, you've been in a room and for whatever reason, the way the flow of it's going is rubbing on you.
Yeah, right? Not in a positive way.
Not in a positive way, like in a negative way. Like you're frustrated. You're like, if they keep rewriting your lyric or re-looking at that and you're thinking like, why isn't that good enough? You know, because you're like the Ferrari guy and this guy's like the minivan guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so, but now that you can articulate this sense of awareness and know them for what they are and know what to expect.
Yeah.
Then, you know, now there may be something where you can put that spice in there. And if you're not going in there taking it personally, because he's going to do that to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, if it's Craig Wiseman or Dallas Davidson or Ashley Gorley, he's going to do the same thing. That's the way that he works. That's just the way that he works. And now that you can see it for that, you can be like, okay, hold on a second. Like, I don't feel like he's trying to get over on me or it's not hurting my artist heart. Right. My artist ego. Cause I could see that happening. And I know like what made me think of that was, I don't want to run long, but I got to be present in an interview for Dave Fowler's a killer bass player, musician. When I lived in California, he owned Bass Frontiers magazine and he interviewed Don Felder from the Eagles. And I'm like in the room, like I could reach out and grab Don by the back of the hair. And I'm just out of the frame of the picture while we're at a recording studio in Santa Monica, and he's talking about which for a bass magazine, but he's the one that came up with the do because Meisner was stuck at an airport in Nebraska where he lived in a snowstorm and couldn't get to Criteria in time, and the tape was rolling. You know, so Felder comes up with it, but he was telling some stories, and one of the things he would talk about was it was really Don Henley's band as well as Glenn Fry's band. Yeah. The buck stopped with them and that always pissed Don Felder off. But Don, on just taking this concept that we're talking about, but to a recording place, right? Don was the guy that's like, let's jam this out and just cop the vibe. And they do a Stonesy thing. And if you listen to Stones records or if you listen to like the Black Crowes, like there's clams in there. If you really listen, there's little mistakes and they leave them in there and that gives them character and it's cool. And that's one way of doing it. And you can't argue with it, you know?
No.
But then Don would be like, now Felder or Henley would be like, we got to cut it again because I just hit the kick like the wrong way on that one beat. and we got to redo the whole damn thing. And so Felder's sitting there explaining, like, man, sometimes I felt like he would just suck the soul right out of the take. But then in the same sense, he like, can't argue with that. I mean, we sold 100 million freaking records doing it that way. So that's one way to do it. And so it's just interesting to think about, like, okay, if you know what you're getting into, maybe your first reaction, I just want to open some awareness. I want to open some eyes. Like maybe you've been in a situation recording, or you've been in a situation writing where this person was rubbing you and pissing you off. And maybe it was that. Maybe it was just you weren't understanding
one personal process.
Yeah. And then if there's maybe a way to revisit that, or at least at the very least, think about that before you start to react, when you first start to get wound up, like in the situation, and it starts to go south inside your head, where you can bring it back around and be like, you know what, maybe this is just a process, and we'll see what's going on, and
I mean, maybe someone has to take that lyric or that melody and, walk it all the way around the block before they know it's the right one. Or they want to try 20 different lyrics in that line just so they can really go, yeah, that's it.
That's the one.
Come up with one and they go, yeah, that's it. Some people need to come up with 100 before they can go, yeah, that first one was it. Just so they know and they have peace of mind and they can move on. That ain't personal. That's process.
Yep. That's how they eliminate everything else. Like they got to go spend a little bit of time there. But meanwhile, you're already like, I already know that's it. And so you're getting impatient, right? Frustrated.
You might be right.
Yeah. But you can't go. But then, like, if you know that's the process, then afterwards you're not like, yeah, that's right, bitch. Like I had it right the whole time. Like questioning me, like you're not the boss of me. Like and you got that inner dialogue going.
Start taking it personal.
Yeah, and now you can just relax and be like, okay, I know what he's going to do here. This is the way this is going to happen.
Okay, and I'm just going to run with it, because if I don't, I might shut them down. And if it's totally incongruent with the way you work, then maybe you don't get in the room with them as much. And you find your tribe, and you find the people that vibe how you vibe, and that's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
It's not personal.
And maybe it could work now that you have this understanding of, you know what? Like maybe you can open up another door, expand your net a little bit, and get into more quality writes, because that person does do some good stuff, and you don't have to be rubbed by it the wrong way.
Exactly. You're just like, this is how they fly, man. I ain't going to argue with how they flap their wings. They fly. Whatever.
That's right. That's killer.
Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Hey, and listen, if I have a gift for y'all for listening and hanging in with us here for these 40 some odd minutes. If you go to giftfrombrent.com, I have a free ebook there called Think Like a Pro Songwriter, and it covers this kind of stuff, about just lessons I've learned the fun way and the hard way over my time in the music business. So it's a free ebook. You can download. You just tell me where to send it. I'll send it right out to you. Get instant access to it. But that's at giftfrombrent.com, because Happy New Year, late Christmas was my gift to you. So start your year off right.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer episode of The Climb here, guys. Join the Climb community if you haven't done so already on Facebook. There's a lot of really great stuff going on there. People helping people, and some good conversations and some good material on a daily basis. So it's an active songwriting community and indie artist marketing community. And there's a lot of them that aren't so active out there. So feel free to join in. Subscribe to the podcast. Make sure all those episodes come right into your phone in order. Make sure that you share it with somebody. If you're liking this stuff, if you're listening to it, somebody else is going to get off on it too and find something good, find some value in it. Make sure you share it on your social media, tell somebody about it. And then finally, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star rating and review, and let other people know that are thinking about dipping their toe in the water there that it's legit and what you got out of it. So once again, guys, this podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing,
and we'll see you at the top.